Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me this evening for our very special Human Potential Running Series Town Hall. It's really great to be here and talk to you. Hello Joe, hello Dana, hello to everybody else who might be watching. If you are watching, you are certainly more than welcome to share your comments in the comment section here on our Facebook Live. If you're watching this recording later on our YouTube channel, or you're watching it on our Facebook page later on, you're obviously not going to be able to comment in real time, but I certainly still welcome you to comment, and we will read it and we will respond. So please, by all means, don't be shy, okay? Let's see, where are we at? I got a lot of things going on here. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to put into the comments here on Facebook a link to Zoom, the information that gets you into our Zoom. There you go. I know it's long, but that will allow you to ask a question after my statement. I do have a prepared statement, of course. You can ask a question later on. You can make a statement if you would like, whatever tickles your fancy. We're not going to use video on our Zoom, but your audio will be patched through to our audience here on the Facebook Live. So if you want to be on Zoom, again, you can do that. We'd love to have you ask questions and comment. And of course, when the time comes, I'll kick it over to you folks. You guys can comment and ask questions when the time comes, and we'll get there. Okay. With that, let's get underway here with this town hall. Again, I have a prepared statement, and after that, I'll open the floor to our community, to you guys to express your thoughts, feelings, and ask questions at the end. It was March of 2014 when a group of friends sat me down in the center of a room and held an intervention of sorts. Not the kind of intervention where you convince someone not to do something. It was the kind of intervention where you convince someone to do something. And a day after that intervention, HPRS was created, and I like to think that a new hope for a different kind of ultra running in the American West was born. I started the Human Potential Running Series because I personally was fed up with the commercialization of our sport, that which we were seeing by big corporations, namely Lifetime Fitness, and what was becoming of the Leadville Race Series. In my opinion, the 2013 Leadville Trail 100 was one of the most negligent races ever directed, and a tragic story that highlighted what could occur if corporatization grasped a stronger hold on our sport. Now, my outspoken nature condemned the totality of what was the 2013 Leadville 100. I wasn't the only one. And many in the ultra community said, if you think you can do it better, let's see it. Start your own. And so I did. Creating the Human Potential Running Series wasn't just about pushing back against that corporatization, though. It was about bringing the same kind of ultramarathon running I was introduced to, knew, and loved on the East Coast of the United States to the mountains of Colorado. An ultramarathon running where we didn't ask, what was your time? And instead asked, did you have a good time? An ultramarathon running where the focus wasn't on the race, the podium, the ego, or the accolades, but an ultramarathon running that felt like a family reunion, where we cooked out, camped out, drank, and were merry, and we just so happened to also be running long distances. An ultra running where the focus was primarily on community, belonging, and togetherness. If you are new to the Human Potential Running Series, and even if you've been around a while, HPRS is now Colorado's largest trail and ultra running series with 14 in-person events that span the entire calendar year. 2 of those events are satellite events, one each in Texas and Arkansas. We are the only major race series on the planet, without a single cancellation due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You can, of course, learn more about us and our races on our website, www.humanpotentialrunning.com. The reason for this special town hall is to come full circle on a multi-part series I authored over the last week or two regarding recent incidents at HPRS. These incidents took place at our last two events, the Cuchara Trail Runs in Levada, Colorado, and the Silver Heels 100-mile endurance run in Fairplay, Colorado. If you have not read about these events, I encourage you to do so. You can find the first three parts of this series on our website and linked to on our social media accounts. Part 1 details two runners who went missing at the Cuchara Trail Runs, requiring us to initiate our emergency action plan, call 911, and administer our first search and rescue operation ever. We are lucky that these missing runners were safely found, but there are many realities within this incident that we all need to learn more from. Part 2 is a near-miss incident at the Silver Heels 100. Part 2, a near miss at Silver Heels, details one runner who was clearly in over his head, underprepared, and completely ignorant to how ultramarathon running even works. This runner possessed a lack of common sense, common decency, and made every mistake imaginable on his way to finishing his first 100-mile run. Ultimately, his finish came at a great cost to the many runners, staff, and volunteers who were at the event. Part 3, hindsight is 2020, is a frank discussion about both incidents, my honest opinion on how we handled each, and brings both narratives full circle in regard to not only our response, but answering the public outcry from people opining that we should have disqualified the Silver Heels runner, and that, quote, we should be ashamed as race organizers for even letting him continue, end quote. In this final part 4, I'm going to take some time to talk to you a little more about risk management and to detail our plan of action moving forward to ensure the likelihood of these types of incidents reoccurring at HPRS is lowered. Anytime situations like these begin to happen more frequently and with more severity, it is up to us as leaders to address the issues at hand and bring everything related to our events back into a better focus. I have said it 1,000 times, and I'm sure I'll say it 1,000 more. The main job of a race director is not to design a course, get a permit, insurance, some potties, hang ribbons, and say go. Far from it. The main job of every race director is risk management. The very focus of this town hall meeting is risk management. Not only our role in managing risk, but your role in managing risk. In all races like ours, an appropriate amount of risk is transferred to the athlete. What does this mean? It means that as a registrant, you assume an appropriate level of risk and liability for and to yourself. You are the one who must do the work. This work includes training adequately for the adventure you are about to take on, because we cannot run the miles for you or hold your hand while you do. Simply put, you must be physically and mentally ready to take on the challenge before you. It is your responsibility to do your homework. Homework includes reading all race-related communications, including but not limited to our website, emails, the participants manual, and the pre-race email. It is your responsibility to watch and/or listen to the race meeting as well. On our website is several tools designed to help you prepare for execution of your challenge. This includes PDF course maps and online interactive course maps, elevation profiles, aid station charts, and more. All races at HPRS also include a Google Drive folder full of even more information designed to help you prepare for the event that which transfers some of the risk associated over to you. I want to take a moment for a closer look in at how we monitor our runners completing their homework for our events. I can't wait. This is like I've been waiting for this. All right, let me see here. So here's the back end on Constant Contact. This is the, I guess, the service that I use to email all of you pre and post race. It's also what I send our monthly newsletters through. This is a look at the back end for the 2022 Silver Heels 100 pre-race email. And during the pre-race meeting, I typically show you who did not open this email. I click on one of these buttons over here, the 7 or the 5, and I'm able to show you the exact names and email addresses of everybody who didn't open the email. However, if I click on the sent number, so all this is everybody who this email was sent to. Constant Contact is going to give me this neat little report, maybe. My computer's running slow because I'm hosting a live show. Here we go. I got that little wheel of death spinning around. Let me show you. Okay. So let's see. I know that Jim Swensen, I'm going to pick Jim because I know that Jim pretty much reads everything. I really trust Jim. So Jim was in the Silver Heels 100. If I click on engagement, it's going to spit out exactly which emails of mine Jim has opened. He has a 95% open rate. I can see that, let's see, in preparation for Silver Heels, here he is on July 9th. That looks like it was race day, the night of July 9th. He's in the pre-race meeting email during the race on his phone. On July 8th, on July 7th, on July 5th, on July 4th. Every single time Jim opens one of the emails I've sent him, I can see not only if he used a mobile device or a desktop device, but I can see a date and time stamp of each and every single opened email and what he did while he was there. He clicked a link on his mobile device. I can see all of this, okay? I also, let me get out of here. Slow, sorry about that. I also have all of that for Run Sign Up. So if I send you an email through Run Sign Up, I also have the ability to see every single individual that got that email, exactly when you opened it every single time, and every single link that you clicked or didn't click in that email. Okay? So on our end, my risk management side, I can see your every action and inaction in preparation for one of our events. Now, this isn't to highlight to you that this is a Big Brother operation. That's not what's going on here through the back end of our races. It is to highlight to you all that we are very serious about you doing your homework. We can see who does and who does not do their homework. And this will have a greater impact on your ability to run with us moving forward, which I'll explain in more detail later on. One of the oldest rules in our sport is the following. It is ultimately up to the runner to know the course. What exactly does that mean? Yes, it is the duty of every race director and part of risk management procedures to mark the course. We mark our courses in accordance with HPRS and industry standards in using surveyor's tape and laminated signage at major junctions. Even while we do not overmark our courses or mark every single social trail or possibility for a wrong way, our courses are marked more than adequately. As you can imagine, we get a few emails throughout the year letting us know a runner's personal opinion about our races being poorly marked. And when I say a few emails, I mean it's less than 5. At less than 5 emails, we receive an email about poorly marked courses, 0.3% of those who join us each year. Now, for each one of those 5 emails I get, I also receive an average of 3 letting us know that our courses are actually some of the best marked a runner has ever seen. So as you can kind of see here, we're kind of stuck in this conundrum. It's either marked poorly or marked immaculately. We get emails for both. And for every one that I get saying it's marked poorly, I get 3 telling me that it's just fine. Okay? For each race at HPRS, a number of tools are provided to our athletes that allows you the opportunity to safely navigate each course on your own accord. This is an imperative practice in line with why the rule has always been it is up to the runner to know the course. Over the years, we, like countless other trail and ultra events, have been subject to course vandalism. It is impossible for us to guard or monitor every marking along these long courses. Markers have been removed by local residents, hunters, mountain bikers, and even cows and other wildlife have eaten them. When these markers are removed or moved, it typically takes a bit of time for word about the issue to reach the race director, and even longer still before the issue can be fixed. This is why some of the onus still falls on you, the runner. The tools we provide at HPRS include PDF maps for printing, GPX files of every course for you to download, then upload to your favorite GPS device, and 3 phone apps you can use to live track yourself on our courses, even when self-service is not present. These apps include the Colorado Trails Explorer app, also known as CoTrex, which is available for free to all iPhone and Android users, the Gaia GPS app, also available to all iPhone and Android phone users, and the HPRS app, which is free to use and available to all iPhone users. In each race's Google Drive are step-by-step directions on how to utilize these app tools. It really is amazing how quick some of you are to share your Strava info to ensure you have the right time and place in the results, but you won't use the same technology for your own health and safety. As a runner myself, I have gone the extra mile in either printing, then laminating course maps, like this one here, that I used for the San Juan Solstice 50 miles some years ago. I also have the course description. Part of this laminated. I laminated it. It's foldable. I stuff it in my pack. This was my detailed map for when I ran San Juan Solstice. Other times I've purchased a map pack of the area the race takes place in, traced the course map as provided by race organizers onto my purchased maps, then studied those maps during the months leading up to the event. Simply put, as the runner, you must go the extra mile to ensure your own safety by knowing how to use any one of these navigating tools. If you don't know how to use any of these tools, I suggest you take on the obligation of learning before your next adventure, because ignorance is not an excuse. Finally, on this point, as mentioned previously, it is up to the runner to know how your gear works. It is not enough to show up on race day with the required gear. You also need to know how to use the required gear. Many will tell you that you should never arrive on race day with something new. No new foods, new socks, new shoes, and to that end, no new gear that you have no experience with using. Now, the next few items that I want to discuss are more opinion-based, but I feel they are important nonetheless. We are no longer in a time where it is acceptable for runners to finish at all costs. Participants in events like ours need to know when to call it a day, and that it's okay to call it a day. At HPRS, we have long shared our view that DNF does not stand for did not finish, but instead did nothing fatal. One of the reasons why we ultimately left ultrasignup.com as our registration partner is because of their incredibly flawed ranking system and some in our community's reliance on that flawed system. What I mean is, people have used the ranking system on UltraSignup and their suspected finish times as a way to judge their anticipated performance, or a way to preparing for an event without considering that the algorithm is actually flawed. How is it flawed? For me, it includes all of my ultra finishes since I was 23 years old. I am now 40, and I assure you that I am not the same runner I was nearly 20 years ago. UltraSignup also encourages the listing of DNFs and DNSs, did not start, in the results posted to their site. Over the years, I've had countless runners insist on not ending their day when they should have, simply because they didn't want the blemish of a DNF on their personal UltraSignup profile or in the race results. Similarly, a number of runners have emailed me to remove them from a race roster because, quote, a DNS just looks bad on my UltraSignup. I can assure you that no one cares about either your DNFs or your DNSs. As a runner, I understand not wanting a DNF listed on my results. I trust me, it's in my heart. As a runner, I understand not wanting a DNF listed on my results. But one of the whole reasons we even run these things is the risk that we may not make it to the finish line. That is the challenge. The DNS sentiment I cannot understand, other than people caring far too much about how others view them as an athlete in a sport that is primarily populated by hobbyists. These are not Boston or Olympic qualifiers. We have become far too focused on keeping up appearances, on wrapping our identities and value as a person into the results of our hobby, that we have forgotten the level of risk we take on. We ignore those risks in order to keep up those appearances. As runners, you need to know when it is time to call it a day. You need to stop being stubborn and pushing through injury, showing up completely undertrained or underprepared to a level where you are nothing more or less than a liability to those who are hosting each event. You are also a liability to the volunteers and other runners. At some point, we need to check our ego at the door and realize that the role of safe participation and the future preservation of events falls in your hands, and tremendously so. Since leaving UltraSignup, we have stopped posting all DNS and DNF information in our official results. If you don't show up, no one will ever know. If you don't finish, no one will ever know. Our results show only those who finished on race day. And this is part of our risk management plan. It's also time that we stop idolizing the elite. Yeah, I said it. We cannot keep reading, listening to, and watching the snippets that the elites provide us and accepting it as the word of some god. These elites are not gods. While they run incredible distances at unfathomable speeds with undeniable prowess, they are also behaving in the ways of mere personalities, also known as social media influencers. They provide you with the very best snippets of their training and philosophy while keeping the realities of the grind out of public view. We are seldom provided the whole picture, or the big picture, of each athlete's story. We may hear about an injury they suffered, but we never get an honest, raw glimpse into what the recovery took, or how they ended up injured in the first place. And I will correct this statement and say that, God, her name is escaping me. I have to ask Emily. There is an elite athlete out there who, for sure, gave us an honest, raw glimpse into what recovery took and how she ended up injured in the first place and she has carried us on that journey, and she has to be commended for us, by us, for doing so. Come on, Em. I know you're watching. I know you're listening. Oh, Casey Lichtig. That's the name. Casey Lichtig. At least she was honest with us, right? She gave us that raw look. Well, so many others have not. Okay. Listen, you are not Jim Walmsley, Anton Krupicka, Scott Jurek, Courtney DeWalter, or Camille Herron. You are you. You need to have your own philosophy and your own training, because you are not one of the aforementioned elite. Your training should not, because you are not one of the aforementioned elite, your training should not look like theirs until and if you reach their level on your own accord. That takes time. It takes patience. Often these elites have no careers outside their current running career. They often don't have kids like most of us do. They often don't have the same responsibilities. While you have kids in a career, this is their kid and career. This is like comparing apples to oranges, and is the basis for why it is imperative we stop idolizing them and copying their every move. As I said, rising to the level of these elites takes time and patience. You know, it was 2014 when Courtney DeWalter ran in the very first race ever hosted at HPRS, the Tommyknocker Ultras. She ran our 100K and won the race outright. At that time, she was a virtual unknown in our sport, still on her way to superstardom. It took a few years before she emerged as the Courtney most of you know her as today. I want to make sure I express to everyone listening that we all have to start somewhere, and it never happens overnight. Anton has been running since the age of 11. I didn't start running until I was 22. It would be unreasonable for me to think that I would rise to Anton's level overnight, if at all. Run your own race is an old school rule in ultramarathon running, a message that specifically talks about you being you and doing you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you being a mere mortal with your own philosophy, your own training plan, your own will, and your own way. Embrace who you are. Take control over who you are, because no one else can or will. We also need to stop glorifying the risk addiction and subsequent poor decisions of the elite. Now, I'm going to share with you some examples that come to mind. Before I get into these examples, it's important to note that these examples are not meant to denigrate or shit-talk an elite runner. These are what we call teachable moments. Just like the recent incident reports I posted and we're coming full circle on, we have a lot to learn, and we learn best from each other, especially from each other's mistakes, okay? So the first I want to share with you is this one. This is on the Ultimate Direction Buzz website, their blog. It is from April 8th, 2013, written by Anton Krupicka. In 2013, Anton Krupicka knew about the increased risk for avalanches on Long's Peak, but he went anyway, willingly choosing to descend a slope where avalanche was not only imminent, but common given the conditions. This story, as posted on the Ultimate Direction website, was meant to serve as a reminder, but instead celebrated an epic adventure because the athlete remains alive and walked away unscathed. Many continue to idolize Anton to this day, despite many of his outdoor exploits being risk-adverse in nature. If nothing else, I would argue that Anton perhaps has an addiction to high-risk situations, whereas it's the only place he can acquire the dopamine hit he seeks, since he's no longer getting it from winning hundreds. Dave Mackey. Dave Mackey returned to running in 2017, completing Leadman as an amputee. This after Dave lost his leg while on a training adventure in Boulder in 2015. Dave decided to scramble down a series of boulders off the backside of the Bear Peak summit. An experienced rock climber, he had taken the route plenty of times before, each and every time accepting, if not ignoring, the risks associated with doing so. But during his descent, a boulder jostled loose and he fell 50 feet, and a rock landed on his leg, breaking his left tibia in 8 places. Now, we've gotten so busy celebrating the athletic accomplishments of Dave, including the fact that he became the first person to run the Leadville 100 with a prosthetic leg, and kudos to him for doing so. Awesome. But we were ignoring the very incident and risks that he took that got him there in the first place. Finally, that's not the one. It is. There we go. Finally, there's David Goggins. I want to ask an honest question. How many people have been so inspired by David, his story and delivery, that they themselves have gotten injured as a result? What do you think that number is? In 2019, David was running in the Moab 240. He was listed as a DNF at mile 200. In that race, David went way off course, and that's not the first time he has done so. And he eventually sought medical attention for pulmonary edema, which is fluid in the lungs. He also had kidney issues. While in the emergency room, doctors expressed to him that he should not return to the course, he should return to sea level, and he should not complete his run. He ignored their warnings and professional opinion, and despite already being listed as a DNF in the event, he returned to the course and finished the final 40 miles of his run. Yes, I agree with you. It was David's decision to return to the course and finish what he started. It was his decision to continue despite no longer being an official participant in the event. But what David did could still be detrimental to the future ability of the event to happen. Ask yourself this question. Upon David's return to the course, what would be the big picture result of him requiring a search and rescue or emergency assistance again? I can assure you that the first person who will answer for David needing either would still be the race director. And David's actions could still have a lasting effect on the future preservation of the event. And for what? To prove or show what? That David's the hardest man on the planet? Good for David. He jeopardized a race's ability to happen again. Yes, all 3 of these athletes are, I'm sure, fine human beings. I've met some of them, but not all of them. Their stories are indeed inspiring. Their stories are indeed motivational in nature. But we cannot lose focus of the reality present with the very real risks they've taken that has jeopardized not only their own health and safety, but the health and safety of others, simply because we idolize them, and at times jeopardizes the ability for a race to continue in the future. Finally, I want to talk about cell phones. Many of you use your cell phones to take photos and videos during your race. These photos and videos are often uploaded to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, or a personal vlog or blog. While we support your documentation of events like ours, while we encourage your inspiring and motivating others to join you and us, your phone is a vital tool in the risk management puzzle. When you're in the mountains recreating, if your phone is constantly searching for service from within reception dead zones, you are draining your battery. Every photo or video you take, you are draining your battery. Every time you upload something to social media with suboptimal service present, you are draining your battery. I usually state in our pre-race meetings that we have had situations in the past where your loved ones expect you to be in constant communication with them throughout your adventure. We have been verbally abused because you lost cell service enough to continue to text them throughout your adventure. And they demanded we provide them with an immediate update on your whereabouts. And that's not how any of this works. The two runners in the Kuchara incident didn't have cell service to be able to call for help. They did not have the tools provided them on their phones to assist them with the navigation off of the course despite not having service. Because again, our tracking apps allow you to live track yourself even when service is not present. If they had had those tools uploaded on their phones, they would have been able to stay on course and find their way back to the finish in the dark, in the driving rain. But then their phones died, and we were unable to communicate with them in the event that service was obtained. Furthermore, during the incident response, we utilized the services of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and state police to try and triangulate the location of these runners using satellite and tracing technologies that only law enforcement officials have. Now, that is some Big Brother stuff. But because their phones had died, this important tool was rendered useless. We could have found them. Friends, it's time to put your phone on airplane mode. Stuff it in your pack and focus on your run. Focus on safety. Focus on the fact that should anything happen to you out there, your phone is your last line of defense. If you're going to use it for videos and photos, you should have some kind of charging brick on you to keep the battery charged. Your phone is your first and last lifeline out there, and we need you to consider that moving forward. When you register for a race, you are paying for a service that is worth far more than your assumed entitlement to run in the race you've paid for. As is with everything in this life, you are entitled to nothing. So what are the services that you are paying for? You are paying for race organizers to design a course that makes sense and allows for the management of risk throughout the event. You are paying for the work done and cost associated in acquiring permits with land managers, agreements with private landowners, insurance, logistics associated with parking and perhaps shuttling, the logistics of aid stations, the logistics of camping, the recruitment and coordination of event volunteers, marketing and advertising that recruits other participants and volunteers for the event. As a race director, I am also being paid for website design and registration website design. I purchase shirts and acquire other swag. I personally make all signage present on course. I communicate with you to help you prepare and personally create all items designed to help your safe participation, including maps, charts, runner's manuals, pre-race emails, post-race emails, GPX files, and so much more. I have a huge job, and at HPRS, I'm the only person doing it. You are also paying for the unknown. You are paying for me to assume all risk and liability for all participants, volunteers, staff, crews, pacers, and spectators. You cannot put a dollar amount on that. As mentioned in part 3 of my multi-part series, I want to reiterate a few points. As the race director and owner of HPRS, as the sole individual obtaining the permits and the insurance, as the sole individual who personally assumes all risk and liability for all persons involved with our events, it is my prerogative to choose the language and type of energy that I express towards risk management. Know someone who is banned from HPRS? Chances are they did not understand the above statement. I'll read it again. As the race director and owner of HPRS, as the sole individual obtaining the permits and the insurance, as the sole individual who personally assumes all risk and liability for all persons involved with our events, it is my prerogative to choose the language and type of energy that I express towards risk management. Again, know someone who's banned from HPRS? Chances are that they did not understand the above statement, and they did something that either interfered with my ability to do my job effectively, or they crossed a line with the understanding of their role as a runner and my role as a director. Finally, I want to offer some more reality with the incident in Cuchara. Please consider the timeline at play. We called 911 at 12:15 a.m. This was when we initiated our emergency action plan and requested the assistance of search and rescue. It was 2.5 hours before any search and rescue personnel arrived on scene, and only then was it the incident commander and not any kind of team. There was no army. 2.5 hours for one member of search and rescue to arrive. It was going to be more than 6 hours after the initial 911 call and the request for assistance before any kind of formal search and rescue operation was underway. 6 hours. What can happen to a lost runner with hypothermia in 6 hours? Of the resources we had at the ready for our 6:30 a.m. search, conditions would have prevented us use of either of the 2 helicopters on standby, or the use of ATVs considering the incredibly muddy trails. The search would have been very slow and left to humans and dogs searching on foot. Friends, when you board a plane, when you get on an airplane, the first person that greets you is a flight attendant. Flight attendants are responsible for ensuring the safety, security, and comfort of airline passengers, and in that order: the safety, security, and then your comfort. When you are boarding the plane, the flight attendants are sizing you up. They are looking for who they need to watch out for, who can possibly assist them in the event of an emergency, and if you are in suitable condition to fly. This also brings me to the friendly reminder that flight attendants don't put the oxygen mask on for you, and they remind you to always put your mask on yourself first. My job as a race director is not too unlike that of a flight attendant. When you arrive to an HPRS race, me, our staff, and our volunteers are constantly assessing your ability to participate in our events safely. Recently, like many other races out there, we have mightily struggled to find enough volunteers for our events. We have begged and pleaded. We have spent time making social media posts, begging and pleading with you to give back, to get on the other side of the table and support each other. You are the most valuable and needed tool in our risk management arsenal. Other runners, who knows exactly what each runner is going through, getting down on your knee and asking, "How can I help?" I cannot let this point go without the weight it requires. Please forgive me. We need volunteers. Every single race needs volunteers. If you have the time to race, you have the time to volunteer. If you have the time to train, you have the time to volunteer. Volunteering is not only the most fun, but you'll play an integral role in ensuring your friends, those runners who are not that unlike you, are able to complete their adventure safely and with managed risk. You are the X factor. This year, I have witnessed other events around the country cancel their race because they didn't have enough volunteers, or because they didn't have enough of a specific kind of volunteer, like medical volunteers. This is the right call, and is the reality we all face as a sport if we don't take on our duty and obligation to give back. If we don't start giving back more in the volunteer role, more races are going to be canceled. The number of races available to run will ultimately dwindle. There will be more lotteries. Others around us, including us, have stated that if we don't start getting more volunteers, we'll be forced to raise entry fees so that we can hire the staff required to ensure your health and safety at events. This is risk management. It's not greed. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my raises. I love what I do, and I love the people that I serve. There's nothing in this world that I am more clearly passionate about than this, than you. I don't want to lose it. I want to also continue to offer you what we have at reasonable rates, below the industry average. Inflation's an issue. Talk of recession. And I'm the race director who's like, hey, you want to make it affordable? You want discounted race entries? You want a free race entry? Volunteer. Earn that $10 to $20 an hour in race credits. Put them towards your own discounted or comped race entry. Give back. The only way that I can continue to do this, to continue to host all of these events, to do it safely, to do it at a reasonable rate, is only so long as you take the time to give back. So a reminder, we do have the most generous volunteer program in the nation, I believe. You can earn $10 to $20 an hour in HPRS race credits. I give you a $40 bonus if you give us more than 8 hours at any one race. If you work an overnight shift, it's automatically $20 an hour. There are people who volunteer with us so much that they'll never use all of their credits. They could run for years for free. And I'm okay with that. The least I can do is reimburse you in this way for your time. It's not about me. It's about our community. It's about the community. We are constantly working on your safety and security, neither of which we could ever guarantee. No race can ever guarantee your health, safety, or security. This is why it is imperative that we all assume our role in managing the risks associated with running in trail and ultra running events. So here's where we are. Moving forward. Moving forward, we will be adding a new question during the registration process on Run Sign Up, where you will acknowledge your responsibilities as a runner with our transferring of risk to you and accepting that HPRS reserves the right to deny you entry into any event if it is determined by our staff that you are unprepared or ill-equipped to safely participate. The question will say, by selecting yes and completing registration for this event, you acknowledge that it is your responsibility to arrive prepared, having completed adequate training and by having read all race-related communication and manuals thoroughly. You also agree that HPRS reserves the right to deny entry to any individual and for any reason, particularly for reasons related to a runner being undertrained, underprepared, or ill-prepared, or behaving in any way that signifies to race organizers that the individual in question is a risk and/or liability to the future preservation of HPRS races, and/or a threat to the health and safety of HPRS staff, volunteers, crews, pacers, spectators, themselves, and/or other participants. HPRS also reserves the right to implement a mandatory gear list for any race they may host, and it is considered a reasonable expectation that all runners who wish to participate have the mandatory gear on their person at all times the gear be required. If a runner is caught on course without mandatory gear, should that be applied, the runner will be immediately disqualified. Should you be removed from an event or denied entry for any of the specified reasons mentioned herein, a refund will not be offered. Other things are 100 milers, Silver Heels, and Sangre de Cristo will have qualifying standards as a condition of entry. For both races, registrants must have completed a 50-mile or longer official ultra in the year leading up. Both races will also have an 8-hour volunteer requirement as well. A note on this, we will not be accepting any race 50 miles in length or longer that are hosted by UTMB, Lifetime, or Spartan. Those three are out. If that's what you're going to use for your qualifier, they do not count. And the reason that they do not count is because those three entities, especially, the way they do things does not match the values of our company or this sport as a whole. So we will not be accepting UTMB, Spartan races, or any lifetime race as a qualifier. Okay? We also aren't going to accept journey runs like a rim to rim to rim or a Nolan's 14. It's got to be an official race. Anybody else except those three that I mentioned. The volunteer requirement for 100 milers, you'll either do 8 hours of volunteering at another ultra, could be ours or anybody else's, or 8 hours of volunteer trail work with another organization or with us, whichever you prefer, but it's imperative that you do this volunteer work so that you know what goes in to either putting these races on or having trails to even run. As mentioned, when appropriate, races may have mandatory gear lists for participation. This determination will be made in consideration of course conditions, weather forecasts, and the remote nature of each event. Any runner exhibiting an altered mental status while participating in one of our events risks being removed from the event by medical personnel or the race director. Again, both Emily and I are certified wilderness first responders. We have been for many years now. We know what an altered mental status is. If we observe you having one, you could be removed. It's for your own health and safety and for ours. Cutoffs from this point forward are all strict, and the time you must permanently leave the aid station by. So making a cutoff is not, I got to get to that aid station in time. No, you need to leave that aid station in time. Now, this does not mean you have a green light to run through an aid station without checking in or getting the sustenance you need to proceed safely. That's not the intent of this rule. We will be enforcing cutoffs strictly moving forward. There's no more wiggle room. We're done with that. We will no longer permit any runner to continue past a cutoff unless they have both turned in their bib number and signed a separate waiver which signifies they're releasing the event of all risk and liability associated with their continuing on. Any runner who chooses to continue without completing this protocol, that's turning in your bib and signing the separate waiver, will be banned from HPRS events for life. All runners may be subject to a brief questionnaire during check-in that allows us to assess your compliance with having read all race-related materials. We also reserve the right to have a secondary waiver that you must sign at check-in that acknowledges your compliance with doing the homework. And again, we do have the technology that allows us to see your online behavior associated with our communications. So I mentioned that because I want you guys to keep in mind here, we're not going to make everybody answer a questionnaire. I'm not going to make everybody, I'm not going to assess everybody's compliance or make you sign a secondary waiver. I'm not going to do that to everybody. However, if on the back end I can see that you did not do your homework, or you're standing there and you're asking questions that are easily found in the materials provided to you, then you may be subject to a brief questionnaire during check-in, and then you may have to sign a secondary waiver acknowledging your compliance with doing the homework. As announced last week, starting with our events whose registration will open on October 1st. So that's the Sawmill Trail Runs, Franklin Mountains Trail Runs, that's in January, Stories Ultra, that's coming up in February, and the Kuchar Snowshoe Races in March. We will be offering event registration and insurance through our partnership with Run Signup, who has a partnership with Alliance Global. This program is being implemented as a way to help you make good decisions. Instead of being stubborn about running while injured or unprepared so that you don't lose your paid entry fees. This program, should the runner decide to purchase the insurance plan, will cover your entry fees paid providing certain criteria are met. And that criteria is pretty easy, guys. It's not the worst, okay? So we are implementing this registration insurance program. It's going to cost you like $10 to register your entry fee, to ensure your entry fee's paid. And we're doing that so that you'll make better decisions for yourself, so that you won't be shy about deciding not to run and using the insurance program to get your money back, because we still don't do refunds. That's not happening. But we have this. This is to help you make better decisions, okay? It's to protect you. It's to protect us. It's to give you another option. It's also so that the next time somebody sends me, can I have a refund email, I can point to the insurance, really. Just kidding. I'm not, but really. Finally, I want to reiterate that that is our right, our duty, and our obligation to deny anyone service who we believe possesses a considerable risk to HPRS, the health and safety of its staff, volunteers, or other participants. We reserve the right to remove you from a course at any time should you violate our code of conduct or display behavior that, should it continue, would be detrimental to yourself or to the future preservation of our events. We reserve the right to add to the conditions of an individual's entry into our events. So if it means that the conditions we wish to add are a reasonable accommodation in ensuring your safer participation in our events, we're going to do that. Our permits, our insurance, our risk and liability, our race, our rules. This is the outcome of what has transpired over our last two events. We have got to do a better job protecting ourselves, protecting each other, policing each other. If you see something, say something. If you know something, say something. People have gotten incredibly angry at me over the years because I've gotten up on my soapbox and told you about negligent race directors. That's my job. It's my job to protect not only my races, but all the other races that are out there, by making sure you know who is not taking this job seriously. I'm not trying to be an asshole, I promise. It's not because I want to tear other people down or put them out of business. It's solely because of their behaviors possibly having an adverse effect on all of us who do it to the best of our abilities. We cannot stop going through this. Well, he's a nice guy, so let's just give him a pass as a race director. No! Being a nice guy is not enough to ensure your health and safety. Being a nice guy is not enough to ensure that other races are not shut down because the Forest Service no longer wants to permit us because we're liabilities. We've got to do a better job. Please. At this point, what I would like to do is open it up to our Zoom callers. Again, if you have anything that you would like to say or share and you don't want to do it on Zoom, please do it in the comment section of the Facebook video. I will gladly read your comments there. I'm actually zooming through here right now just to read email shaming, constant stalking. Yeah, I am stalking people and email shaming. Jim is ready for sure, and Jim is the best. It is a bit creepy. Every commercial email you receive can track you to this degree or even more thoroughly. That is true. Tracy is expressing that she usually buys, I know Tracy does this. Tracy's well prepared. She buys a Nat Geo map of the course that she's planning to run on of that area, and she'll take the race director's map and trace it onto the map that she bought, and then she'll study the maps for months. By the time race day shows up, she's got it memorized. Aaron asks, so we should not be using Goggins as a role model. No. Amelia Boone. Sounds like Amelia Boone is another elite runner who has been very open about her recovery, both from injury and mental illness issues. Thank you guys for letting me know about Amelia. If she does that, that is absolutely awesome. Again, I think that that's great. And I want to tell you something. If anybody's been around HPRS for any number of years, you know that I too have been pretty open about my struggle with mental illness, which used to be much worse, much, much worse. I'm very grateful and lucky to have come out on the other side of mental illness. And I can say that I did do it in part because of some of the assistance and help that I've received from those of you in our community. But I also want to say that for being open and honest about your mental illness, there are a number of people in our ultra running community who choose to use mental illness as their sword and shield. And they publicly talk about people's mental illness in a way that is negative and only seeks to embarrass and destroy them and defame them. And it's simply disgusting. So there's that. Tracy says you can still take photos in airplane mode. That's true. Jordan says every time he's on a course, his phone's on airplane mode because he's been lost and his phone is a lifeline. Beth said she never thought about airplane mode. So she's going to add that. And she's going to get an extra charging brick. Tracy has a few lipstick chargers for both watch and phone. They work really well, although my phone taking photos and playing music more than lasted for 30 hours at Silver Hills. Dana has several batteries plus an inReach. Jeffrey's looking forward to volunteering in El Paso. Thank you. Ant is yes to mandatory gear. Yes to trail work. Yes to volunteering. Volunteering equals education. Everyone at every level should take the We Belong class. Dana says it's amazing just how far we can get with mental illness issues with endurance sports and sharing and caring. And what's the deadline to complete volunteer hours ahead of Sangre de Cristo 100? I actually don't know off the top of my head. It's got to be September 1, something like that. Close to race day. Usually a couple weeks out. It's on the website. I made it for a reason. All right, I'm going to turn over here to our Zoom meeting again. I'm going to ask to unmute these folks, and we should be able to hear their audio. I really hope we can. So the first person I'm going to unmute here is Stephen Wilfong Oliphant. Stephen, if you want to talk, unmute your Zoom there, and hopefully we'll be able to hear you. I've spent most of my afternoon trying to figure out how to patch this audio in. So hopefully you guys can hear it. But Steven's not unmuting. Oh, there he is. Steven, can you hear me? Hold on one second, my friend. Oh, no. Hold on one second. Let me see. I did something wrong, Steven. Give me a second. You guys continue to talk amongst yourselves. Audio. There's that. All right, try now, Steven. Can say something for me? I cannot hear you. Well, let me try one more thing. All right, try now. Can you guys hear Steven? Oh, man. That's the... Oh, I really wanted this to work. I couldn't figure it out. Not letting me broadcast hearing his voice. I'm pretty sure it's my end, Stephen, and not yours. So certainly, don't. Let me see here. On. How about now? All right, I'm going to try this a different way. My microphone is that. And speaker is that. All right, try talking now, Steve. Echo? You hear an echo?
I do hear an echo.
Oh, I hear you though. So let me.
Haha.
All right, try now.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. I hope other people can hear you too.
Can everyone else hear me?
I think I just need to turn you up a little bit. So here we go. All right, go ahead, Stephen.
Okay, can people hear me? Looks like Beth can hear me.
Beth can hear you. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I think that my experience at Kuchara volunteering there that night, I should say, was a pretty significant makeup, and it was a really major look at what can go wrong and how bad it can be. And it was not a good feeling to be going to bed at 3 in the morning, wondering if we were, if these two runners were out there freezing or not, and if we were going to get them back. And fortunately, we did. And I mean, they came out on their own accord, and that is fantastic. But it was, I think that this kind of thing, it really touched a vein for me, being, coming at this more from a hiking and mountaineering standpoint, and knowing that this is always a possibility. And obviously it's a different case than an organized event like this, but you're still out in the wilderness. You're still out on your own, not entirely on your own, but for long stretches on your own. And so there are so many things you can do to be prepared for that. And I think that it's important that more people start to take that seriously.
Yeah, so if just in case folks don't know, Stephen was our volunteer coordinator for both the Kuchara trail runs and the Silver Hills 100-mile endurance run and last call 50s. He was present and helping with the search and rescue operation at Kuchara, and also firsthand knowledgeable about our friendly runner there at the Silver Hills 100, also known as Runner A. And thank you again, Stephen, for the help and assistance that you provided us in making sure that everybody was safe and accounted for.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot that I could do by the end at least, but when you're in that situation, you have to be able to do anything that you possibly can do.
Right. Well, a good point. Something I wrote in part 3 is what you're echoing, Stephen, which is that every time that we're heading out for a trail or trail race or ultra marathon, we need to have an expedition mindset. So think like you're going up Rainier or you're taking off to Antarctica. What are you bringing with you? What do you need to survive? And it's really important that we take that onus for ourselves. Next, I'm going to go to Jim Swensen. I know Jim wrote his comments in the chat to me, but I want to make sure that Jim gets a chance to speak if he wants to, so I've asked to unmute him here on Zoom. Hi, Jim.
John, can you hear me okay?
I can, and thank you so much for allowing me to use you as the guinea pig with emails again.
Sure. Yeah, some of those clicks might have been Tristan, because I think I may have shared the constant contact link with him.
And that's great. That's your pacer. So you were making sure that your pacer was prepared.
Yeah, I would say First of all, I'm pretty new to all this. I've only been running these ultras for about 4 years now. So there's still a ton of things I need to learn. And having town halls like this or incident write-ups or just people being willing to share is so valuable to me. I've picked up some new ideas just tonight reading through the comments on the Facebook Live page. So thank you for everybody that's been doing that. The recent write-ups, when I read through those, what I tried to think of is, okay, what can I take away from this? What can I do better? How can I improve in my preparation? And even during events, asking questions of other people and them being willing to share. So, for example, I started carrying an emergency bivvy now, and hopefully I never need to use it, but I have it, and if somebody else needs it, I have it. Learned some good tips from another runner on better foot care. That's been very helpful to me. So I view all these things as opportunities for self-reflection and how to be better prepared. What can I do? I will say volunteering is probably one of the best ways that I've found to learn, because you get to see so many runners coming through and get to talk with them, see how they're doing. And the We Belong series also, somebody else mentioned that. I found that to be very valuable. So I think it's important to have multiple backups. That could be, a printout of the map, but also having the map in Cotrex on your phone. That way, if one of them bonks out on you, you have the other in hand. I carry a 20-year-old handheld GPS as well that works just fine for this, but it helps me. So I definitely will take wrong turns, or I'll be daydreaming and totally miss the flagging on a turn. So anyway, yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this discussion, and appreciate everybody sharing their knowledge. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you, as always. I look forward to seeing you at Sheep Weekend. We're going to go to Melissa R. next. If she would like to speak, I see her on the Zoom. Again, the Zoom information was shared earlier. So I just sent the ask to unmute. Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're great. What's on your mind?
So I'm just really brand new to ultra running. So this is this has been very helpful for me. I am a little nervous. So I'm running it'll be my second 50K at Sheep, and I'm excited, just nervous, but I appreciate all the insight, the information. I definitely respect ultra running. I respect you, John, and I love what you're doing. I love the spirit and the energy of all of this. Just really excited. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Melissa. I know that, when you come out and join us at Sheep, you're going to be in good hands. You're going to be in a community of like-minded runners. And, if you didn't read the near miss at Silver Hills, I do recommend you read the article so you can see how our community really did pull together to make sure that runner accomplished their goal. And I know we plan to do the same for everybody at Sheep. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Of course. Jeffrey Tweed coming in from New Mexico town down there. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, John. Good evening. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for calling in.
Awesome. Yeah. It's been a crazy month for you or so. I guess a month or so at HPRS with your company, and I know me and you, we didn't start off on a great foot,
Get in line.
And this is a few years back, and we all make mistakes, and I was happy that I reached out to you. We were able to settle our differences, and I came out to El Paso and volunteered, and I've done a couple one of your races. I'm coming out to Sheep too, so I do appreciate your open and honesty, and I do like wildland firefighting and stuff too, and the number one goal is always the health and safety of the wildland firefighter and the public, so I mean it's important maintaining that as your job, but races are supposed to be fun, right? That's a huge factor. That's why people sign up for races. They want to come out, have a challenge, and have fun, right? So we don't want to lose sight of that fun factor neither when we're I know these are a couple serious instances, especially the Kuchara one, man. That was a there's some fault, and I know you admitted that as well. There was some fault because it was a night before the race change, so there was that last minute change. Yes, it's the runner's fault ultimately. It's always because you're responsible for yourself and navigation and understanding where you're at, and like you guys said with the expedition, but there was some fault in last minute course change the night before the race. Even me, I was a little bit confused, but I just reached out. I was like, hey John, I'm a little confused. I know I got to do a little loop. What do I got to do, man? And you just were like, all right, you were spot on. You were like, you go 0.7 here, make a right, and then do this. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just went, and you're exactly what it was, but some people don't reach out and just get lost, I guess, man. Or they're just not, I mean, I'm pretty experienced in trail running, so, I appreciate your honesty and openness and candidness about everything, John, and look forward to seeing you here soon, I guess in another week or so, man. So appreciate you and what you do.
Thanks, Jeffrey, and I look forward to seeing you at Sheep. And, I just want to say, response to something you said there, and that is, it is supposed to be fun. I had a blast finally getting to run Silver Heels. My own 100-miler, and I earned my buckle, and now I feel like I can hold one of these and show it to everybody and not have a layer of guilt for even touching it when I haven't earned one, and I finally earned my own. And I really want us to get back to having a good time and doing what we do best at HPRS, which is be an awesome community of trail and ultra runners. And we're going to do that. But I would be remiss if I didn't kind of throw out there to everybody that when incidents like this happen, this is the Kuchara incident report. This is the report that I needed to type up from that event. This report is vital in case any litigation comes from what transpired out there. So everything is covered, every T is crossed, every I is dotted. But this is also a part of the processing that I need to do as a race director for what just happened. What happened at Kuchara and what happened at Silver Heels, they're real amazing teachable moments. They're things that I can share with our entire community in the hopes that you will take something from it that you can learn. And maybe those mistakes won't happen to you. Maybe they won't happen to somebody else. Maybe they won't happen to these other runners again. And I'm also trying to be fair to these runners who are involved in these incidents by reaching out to them and being like, hey, we'd love to have you. We want you to keep running here. But obviously, we need to put a few additional safeguards in place to make sure that you can have a good time, you're safe, and that we don't have to come looking for you again, or we don't have to deal with this again. But then the other part of this is the mental weight that these incidents carry. As the race director, as the sole person that assumes all risk and liability for everybody associated with our events, it is quite a heavy mountain to carry. And I've really struggled. I'll be honest. I have struggled tremendously with the processing of these events. And I guess that by sharing these posts with you and doing this video tonight, it's my way of being able to move on. And it's part of my health. It's part of my recovery. It's a part of my mental health. The consequences that we as the RD feel for what we do. And you know, people don't know, like at Endure in May, the event's over, everybody's gone home, and it was just me standing there with all the trash, all the race supplies, and an empty trailer. And I had to get to work loading that trailer and get everything cleaned up by myself, because if I'm not working, nobody is, right? I didn't have any volunteers. I didn't have anybody there helping me. And then when I get home from a race, the very first thing that I want to do is take a shower, because typically I haven't showered for a few days. And so I turn the shower on, I brush my teeth, I get all, you know, and I get in that shower. And as soon as the water hits me, the first thing that I do is sob. And I cry for quite a bit in the shower. And there's a lot that I carry through race weekend that in that moment, when I'm in the shower and everybody is safely home, that I finally get to let go. And that's how it comes out. And so when incidents like these happen, it takes me a considerable amount of time and energy to personally recover from them, to process the events, to be able to move on. And it's been my hope that through sharing all of this with all of you, we can not only learn from it, but we all can move forward in that one direction we all know, do so safely, and get back to having an awesome time at all of our events. There's a few other people here. It looks like Lisa Caraway. I'm going to ask to unmute Lisa. Lisa, if you want to say something, you're welcome to. Just unmute yourself there on Zoom. Here you are.
Yep, here I am. Hello.
Hey. What's on your mind?
What?
What's on your mind, Lisa?
Oh, I just say I know I'm not great at reading everything you send, but I do try to always read what you when, especially with the races, and make sure I know everything. And the Cortex saved me on one race, because I was definitely gonna keep on going the wrong way. So I mean, I think everything you're saying is important, and I agree with it.
Well, thank you, Lisa, and I'm glad that the tools that we provide you are useful to you and keeping you healthy and safe. So
Yes,
thank you for
definitely
doing your homework.
Thanks. You're welcome.
That's everybody on the Zoom. If anybody else has any questions or anything they want to share in the comments, I certainly welcome it. If you want to hop on to Zoom now, by all means, go ahead. We have a few more minutes before I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you again to everybody here in the comments who have shared your thoughts and asked questions, and just be in the awesome community that we have become here at HPRS. When I reached that finish line at Silver Heels, and I slumped down in a camp chair along the chain link fence around the high school track in Fairplay, and I looked at the community of runners who also finished that run. I was so overcome with emotion in that moment, because I realized on that adventure during that weekend, actually having been out there for so long with all of you, sharing those miles, sharing the experience of Silver Heels, that the community that I sought to build when I started HPRS in 2014, and trust me, over the years, over those first 3 years that we were in business, we definitely lost our way. We definitely were an amalgamation of what everybody else wanted us to be, and very much not what my vision and what my mission for HPRS was. But I got to spend Silver Heels weekend immersed in an HPRS race, and being able to see that we are exactly who I knew we could be, and what I wanted community to be here for ultra running in Colorado. And I'm so incredibly proud of the way that our entire community has responded to both of these incidents, in person, and in email and in comments after the fact. You have truly shown your character and integrity as a community of runners. And I can't be any more proud of what HPRS has become and the runners who run with us here and what we do and how we do it. And yeah, we got to button things up a little bit to kind of protect ourselves for a little bit. That's what turtles do. They get inside their little shell and hide. We're going to do that for a little bit. And I'm sure over time we'll be able to loosen the reins a little bit and make adjustments as needed. But for now, given the two traumatic experiences that we just had for Emily and I, we've got to protect ourselves a little bit. We've got to protect our sanity. And I really cannot thank this community enough for coming together the way that you have and being who you are. So thank you so very much. And I'm so ready for us to get to Sheep Mountain so we can continue this road that we're on, this trail that we're running together. It truly is awesome. And, we may not sell out every race. I'm okay with that because the right people are there. Not all of the people, the right people. Summer says, Ryan says, if you have time to train, you have time to volunteer. I think this is really something to ponder. Dana says, I need to give back here and better integrate myself with the ultra community here. This is such a great group. I love what it's about, and it so resonates with my background. Summer says, I'm so thankful I was a part of Silver Heels. Life-changing experience for sure. Thank you. In response to Dana saying she needs to give back more and better integrate, Ryan says, that's awesome. I get more out of volunteering than I do out of the running most of the time. Giving is really living. Volunteering is incredibly rewarding, and it's an awesome way for you to educate yourselves and gain more knowledge. The first time that I ever went to a 100-mile race was the 2006 Vermont 100. And I went there just going to see what I could learn so I could teach my crew how to be more efficient in 50-milers. A year later, there I was running in the Vermont 100. And I've finished that race now 6 times. If I'd had never gone to educate myself, I ended up pacing a runner all through the night, a complete stranger from Reno, Nevada, who was trying to finish her first 100 in her 3rd attempt. And I watched her puke, and I watched her shit on the trail, and I popped her blisters and taped chafe and did all the things that are completely unheard of to get her to that finish line. That's what was required. I learned so very much. And I learn at every race, even as a race director, I learned a tremendous amount about what everybody's doing out there to reach their goals along the way. So thank you for also being teachers, for being mentors to one another. It's so very important. And that is the roots of ultramarathon running. That is who we are. It's not podiums and age group awards and prize money and who's who and what's what. I mean, it really is a sport that has grown out of community and mentorship and giving back. And we need to remember that. And I will forever be somebody who says we got to get back to that, because we do. That's what's going to make our sport persevere. That's what's going to allow us to continue to do this and have the fun that Jeffrey was talking about. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us for this evening's special town hall. And I hope that at this point we can move on from talking about the incidents that have occurred in our last 2 races. I hope that we are all able to see the whole picture and the big picture and understand that none of this has been easy, and that all of this has come with a certain level of trauma for everyone involved, and that we all have so very much to learn, and we also very much have so very much to share with one another to be a better ultra community, to be better adventurers, to be better expeditionists out in the mountains. And that's all we're doing, right? For most of us mere mortals out there, this really just is supported mountain shit. SMS. Supported mountain shit. That's what we're doing. You want to go on an adventure, and we're there to support you. So let's continue to support each other. Let's continue to support our community. And let's continue to be the ultra runners that I know that we all are. And I think, thank you all so very much for joining us for this town hall meeting. Please continue these conversations while on your runs, in social media, in our Facebook group. We do have a private Facebook group for the Human Potential Running Series. You're welcome to join. We'd love to continue the conversation there. And that is also a really useful tool and a valuable place for you to ask anything and everything and help educate each other and mentor one another into being better ultramarathon runners. And I hope that we can do that together. So for the Human Potential Running Series, my name is John LaCroix, owner and race director of HPRS. It is my every hope that you will join us for a race in the future. Again, our website is www.humanpotentialrunning.com. We are Colorado's largest trail and ultramarathon running series and the second largest ultra series in the nation. We'd love to have you come and experience what sets us apart and makes our community so incredibly different than many others. I love you. Have a good night, and I hope to see you all at Sheep Mountain in a few weeks. Thank you. Good night.